There are so many levels. I can't. There are so many levels. Hi! Welcome to video 2. Here we are. We made it. We were so fun last time. We had so much fun together. This time is going to be a little bit more
serious.
I wanted to talk today about tone policing and some stuff that goes along with that. This video was inspired by some Twitter aggression that happened online, but that's not that important. What's more important is talking about tone policing. Urban Dictionaries tells us that tone police are people who focus on and critique how something is said, ignoring whether or not it is true. Geekfeminism.wikia.com says that the tone argument manifests itself where arguments produced in an angry tone are dismissed, irrespective of the legitimacy of the argument. This is also known as tone policing. Well, there are 1,000,000 reasons that someone might be mad. We're going to talk specifically about Black issues today. So there are 1,000,000 reasons why Black people may be mad. So just to elaborate, tone police want you to edit the way that you are saying what you're saying for the purpose of making themselves feel a little bit more comfortable with the dialogue. What you're asking as a tone policer is for someone to change the way that they are emoting, the way that they are feeling about a certain way, or at least not express it to you, which is ridiculous. In the past year, probably the biggest hashtag of 2015 was hashtag Black Lives Matter, which talks about police brutality. So a ridiculous amount of innocent and unarmed Black people are killed every year by police. And when I started to realize that, and it circulates on Twitter, and you can see it on YouTube, you can see it on your Twitter feed as you're going about your daily life, and you can just see this massive amount of dead bodies on your screen. And then after you see these people dying in the streets in a way that they didn't deserve, you get to go and see in the justice system how they're dead and their murderer is not being held to justice. And so obviously I'm emotional about that. Like, obviously I'm enraged. And then after you have reached your limit, after you're maxed out on feelings and observing so many horrific incidents, you post something or you retweet something or you say justice for whoever it is this time. First, people want to tell you that your feelings are illegitimate because they deserved it in some way. We're not going to talk about that because that's ridiculous. But second, someone wants to tell you after that,
you're just so emotional. You're so aggressive in how you feel about it. It would be easier for me to engage with you. It would be easier for me to converse with you. It would be easier for me to care about this if you just talked about it in a different way.
Hey, I can't talk about dead people in a different way. Sorry, I'm grieving. For your convenience, not going to happen. It is very twisted for a white person to want for you to change how you're feeling or reacting to racism when they are a part of the group that is perpetuating racism. Do you see why that's messed up? I pray that you see why that's messed up. Stop that. It is wrong to tell someone how to react to grief of any kind. Okay, so I'm gonna put it like this. The people who are oppressed are basically expressing, I am oppressed, you have oppressed me, these are the effects of that oppression, and it hurts. The oppressing group is saying,
hey, your effects are making me very uncomfortable. If you would like for me to engage in this conversation about how I've oppressed you or how we have oppressed you, can you just say it differently?
What makes it worse is the media's images of angry black woman, violent, enraged black man, which is actually literally a deathly stereotype, aka has caused death. So what are we to do? A, let people feel what they are feeling. In The Fault in Our Stars, pain demands to be felt. It just does. This is systemic racism. This is systemic oppression. It exists and it demands to be felt. Why waste energy telling people not to feel what exists? Literal waste of time. You should care because it's true. This is also in no way, shape, or form based on any concern for the people hurting. It's fully focused on the person who just doesn't want to feel the effects of people hurting. If you're genuinely concerned about somebody's well-being, it sounds so different than tone policing. It would sound more like someone saying to their friend, hey, I see that you're angry, I see that you're hurting, and I understand why, but it is affecting your entire life. Everything that you do is affected by this bitterness, and I'm concerned for you. Before we go any further, I just want to make it clear that if you are angry about injustice of any kind, you are allowed to be. There is such thing as righteous anger. I think we get this idea that anger is sin, and like the only way that you can be angry is if you're being selfish or self-centered. That's not true. You are allowed to be angry. It's right to be angry about sex trafficking. It is right to be angry at police brutality. It is right to be angry about injustice of all kinds. In fact, that anger is like an effect of love. Like, because you love and care about somebody, you're angry when you see someone abusing them. We have to do something productive with anger, because anger turns into bitterness, and bitterness is poisonous to your life. If you know someone who is not only just angry about racial injustice, but is completely bitter, I understand wanting to talk to them. If you know nothing about the injustice that they're pissed off about, stop and leave. Because you trying to tell them about how to not be bitter while not engaging in the thing that they care about or that they are pissed off about will only make them more angry and give them more reason to be bitter. So we know that tone policing is dumb. We know that there's such a thing as righteous anger. There are things that are worth being mad about. And we know that anger hardens into bitterness. How do we not get bitter? I want to talk about things that I have learned. I want to address coping strategies that I've learned, basically. What do we do with anger? How are we productive? How do we not turn into negative messes? Feel free to take a break. Being so emotionally attached to social events, like current events and things that are happening, especially today where everything is caught on camera, is, I do not believe, sustainable. And it's also, I would say, not effective. Just because you're aware of it doesn't mean you're being productive, doesn't mean you're helping. If you're not consistently aware of every single day the new thing that's happening, you're not hurting anybody. Please take care of yourself. Instead of being on Twitter 24/7 and consistently taking in all that information, I was off social media, but I started reading a lot. And honestly, reading books is the number one thing that helped me. How has reading helped me counter bitterness? Over the summer, I read The New Jim Crow, and that was very, very, very helpful. For me, at that time, I was realizing how freaking real systemic oppression was, and most people around me did not understand or know what systemic oppression was at all. And so reading The New Jim Crow was really helpful in solidifying my understanding of what it looks like to be Black in the justice system. And it didn't take out of me what it would have taken out of me to watch more people die online. But I've also started reading like memoirs, stuff like that. That's still nonfiction, but like storytelling of personal experiences. There are a lot of issues that are discussed that exist today, and that is validating, A, but B, a lot of times social media is just like, let me tell you about this dumb thing that happened today. When people are recounting their lives, a lot of times what you see is this hope that got me through it. Through reading, especially, I'll just mention 3: Life of a Slave Girl, Black Like Me, and even just a bit of The Color of Water that I've read so far, helps me look at history and appreciate it, like rejoice in it, like, oh my gosh, you made it, you freaking made it. Like, there's a joy in that, and to observe how they made it literally is life-giving. And not only was it like you did it, but like it's inspiring for the current movement. There is something that we want, there are goals that we are pushing for, that we are actually going to see. There is so much that I truly believe we will see the fulfillment of in our generation. And I realize that that's like a big thing to say. How can I be so confident? It's not just because I've read these books and I know that progress like exists. I feel like it's a promise that we have. I'm finna preach, guys. Justice is the Lord's. One of my favorite verses is Luke 4:18 and 19. Jesus is starting his ministry, like it's the first thing he does out the gate when he's grown and ready to like set things off. And he says, he stands up in church, first of all, in temple, whatever. The Spirit of the Lord is on me because he has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim deliverance to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to release the oppressed, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. And you know what? It's not just the year, like it's the season. And we know seasons are not just fall or spring 3 months out of the year. Like this, our season is like a new era, the new era of the Lord's favor, where God is on our side. And that is what I feel in my bones. How do I counter bitterness? I get angry at stuff that's not right. I know that God is on my side, and I do what he's called me to do in each season. And I read books about the good things that God has done on this earth, and I know that he's not done because he's freaking on our side. I didn't think I was gonna preach today. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. It feels good to be on the right side of justice. It feels good to know that like God is on your side, and it feels good to know that
we gon' be alright.
Bye, friends. Thank you so freaking much for watching. I hope that this was productive or helpful to you in some regards. That would be the best. If it was, let me know so. If you want more, subscribe. Goodbye, bye. I'm about to leave now. Finally, I'm coming home to Colorado.